There's one thing I want you to do for me.
What?
Come here.
What?
Win. Win.
What are we waiting for? Take this!
What is up, EoP sports fans? It's Wednesday night. It's 8:30. It's time for EoP. I'm Big Al.
I'm Freddie Burns.
And we got a special guest tonight, Joe Melito. What's going on, Joey?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
For those who are joining us and wondering where the other Joe is, he has not been replaced. He has some family things to handle tonight, but he will be back, I promise you. But we have a lot to cover tonight, and Joey is joining the EoP family. A new reporter for us here at EoP. You can already see a couple of his articles out now and kicking ass talking about the Eagles and the draft mainly at this point. Doing a great job. Thank you, Joey. But we will get into all that a little bit later. We're going to start off a little bit tonight talking about your Philadelphia 76ers. That's right. You're 2-0 right now in the playoffs against the Nets. I want to remind you that this show is brought to you by our great sponsors over at cherrystickets.com, cherryinjurylaw.com, dolansbar.com, as well as phillysportstrips.com. These are the great sponsors that make things awesome and keep EoP rolling. So, Fred, let's just jump right into it. Tale of two games. I mean, the first game was complete and utter dominance. Just the Sixers were in total control. The Nets didn't know what to do with themselves. Playoff, I don't know if it's a career game, but close to it for James Harden and Joel Embiid. Tobias Harris playing well. Second game, Joel Embiid and James Harden, not so much, especially in the first half. But the guy that everybody was wondering, this is why I love Philly, by the way. What a great game the first game one was. But everybody had a question, well, what happened to Tyrese Maxey? I'm like, well, he didn't need to do anything. He was doing Tyrese Maxey stuff that you'll see on the stat sheets. But there he was, game 2, 33 points. Tyrese Maxey showed up, kept us in the game, and ultimately led the Sixers to a 2-0 in the series. What are your thoughts right now on your 76ers?
And Tobias Harris has been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Well, first, before we talk Sixers, we talk about how I'm right. And I nailed the rotation. You're like, oh, House? No Daniel House? I'm like, no, Daniel House is not playing. I hope he doesn't play. Did I not nail that rotation last week?
All right, fine. I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it.
You gotta let me have it.
I'm
not right all the time, so I gotta take
everybody to Freddie, I told you so, Burns.
You gotta take your wins, man. You gotta take the wins.
Oh, victory lap with Burns over here? Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be running around the parking lot here at EoP Studios, just pounding his chest.
I also told you the key was the 3-point line, and it continues to be the 3-point line. But yeah, they're playing good. That first game, you couldn't ask for nothing less. I don't understand what Jacques Vaughn was doing. He basically, his plan was, double and triple Embiid and just leave our shooters wide open to shoot. We're the number one, as far as percentage goes, 3-point team in the league. I know it doesn't feel that way sometimes because we're pretty streaky, but I don't know why that was the game plan, and it didn't work. Second game, I think they made some adjustments as far as kind of disguising their looks. But Embiid, to his credit, they banged Embiid. Embiid couldn't get on the block. They beat him up a little. He didn't get the calls that he was getting. Neither did Harden. Well, Harden didn't get calls either game. But I think the main difference in game 2, outside of Maxey's performance and Tobias Harris being good, is, and actually me and Joe were talking about it on the phone a few days ago, is we talked about it early on in the year when it was a game they lost to Boston, and everyone was down, and I was kind of up about it because I'm like, Embiid, they got punched in the mouth and he punched back. They lost the game, but he punched back. And this game, he was getting beat down low. And we've seen in years past him disappear and sit out at the 3-point line. And he did not do that. And not only that, his composure was there, and then his mental IQ continues to just amaze. He was baiting the double team to find Maxey at times. So I'm just, I expected a sweep. I like that they got punched in the mouth, but responded and still covered the spread. They win by 11.
Absolutely.
Games, yeah. And you got to give Doc the way he adjusted to Bridges in the first game was great. Cam Johnson, he played a good game in the second game. When we tried to sit back in the zone, wasn't working. Doc immediately came back and just stuck with the man. But like, we were saying on the phone with I think the old Joel, like you said, would have either lost interest or even worse in the playoffs, maybe picked up a technical or something like an ejection where, we've seen where that gets, like the Warriors now with Draymond getting a suspension. So
they add up them T's in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean,
get suspended for a game.
Joel really held his composure, and even though he wasn't scoring much in the first half, he was still hitting the boards. A lot of them were easy boards, but when you come out with, a 2019 night, still, do what you have to.
Pretty good when you drop 20 and 19 and it's a bad game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about an Embiid game. If he puts up 24 points, everybody's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I used to lose my mind.
He only put 24 points. So, but that's the thing is, and it kind of goes back to game one where, like I said, it was complete dominance, but Tyrese Maxey wasn't a huge factor in the game on the stat sheet. And everybody's losing their mind. Oh, Tyrese, he's becoming small in the playoffs. One basketball. You're not going to have 3 guys scoring 40-plus points a game. It's not going to happen. If somebody's scoring 50, then somebody else is only going to be scoring 20. That's just the way it works. So I just love how people got all like frazzled because, it was the most in the last how many years most dominant Sixers playoff game that any of us has probably seen. Like where they were just in complete cruise control, and that after 5 minutes of the game, you did not feel there's any way that the Sixers would lose that.
The first game, one thing that I loved was when the Nets were kind of chipping, and if you had money on the game, they were getting inside that 12.5 point mark. B-ball Paul.
That was my next,
Great one.
Dude.
Great one, Joe.
Good transition, because I was about to throw that one out.
Oh, man. He came in, and me and my dad almost jumped off the couch. Some of the hustle plays he made, the crowd immediately jumped into it, and we were able to get Joel a rest. Well, he had the fans into it, chanting, and it was cool to watch. See a guy get that hustle.
Do you think the fans start doing a victory lap around Doc Rivers yet, or we let that one slide?
Well, an article broke after game one, and they interviewed Harden, and Harden said him and Doc are now on the same page with the second unit. I took that as the heading as, I guess Harden finally got through Doc's skull to play B-ball Paul. Well, if you actually read the article, it's the latter. It's the other way around. Harden wanted Montrezl Harrell because he wasn't comfortable with Paul Reed. And Doc has been slowly trying to get Paul Reed in. So there's stuff going on. We crush Doc a lot, but we don't know what's going on in that locker room.
Yep.
And I can honestly say I did not think – I'm not saying James Harden's voice is not a heard voice in the locker room, but didn't think it carried as much weight as that article makes it sound it did.
Oh, he definitely carries weight. All the.
But I'm just saying
you're saying it doesn't? Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying it surprises me that it carries as much weight that it's going to sway Doc Rivers.
Well, no, Paul played, but there was an obvious attempt to try to make it someone else, and you have to wonder if that was they were more comfortable with veterans that Harrell, someone that he had already played with. But I want to talk about B-ball Paul, just like you said, more than that. Like, it's amazing, this guy. And having an adequate backup center is so huge. Like, I think the playoff game against the Raptors, the double doink, not game, but that series, I was at a game. It was actually a good Ben game. He played well. But the Sixers were up 12, and then Brett Brown would sub Boban in, and literally they were down 6 within 2-3 minutes. And I'd be losing my mind. And then Embiid would come back in, and they'd go up 8, and then he would do it again. And it was just like, stop putting them in. And then we watch it year after year. We don't have an adequate backup center. And now we finally have one. Like, we don't need B-ball Paul to drop 20. We talked about it last week. We just need to break even.
Yeah.
-2, -4,
push your
+2.
sister in this one. You don't have to add, but don't subtract.
He's not going to do any finesse things, I don't think. But if he can get them scrappy.
Stunningly, though, he did that through the legs and then the reverse jam. Like, him and Harden look like they're like he's got a rim runner like he had in Houston with Clint Capella a little bit.
I mean, there's a good chance that the Sixers do end this in 4, and that means they might get a nice little break too, leading into the next series, which would be the Celtics if they win. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but pretty hard to swallow that they would lose this at this point. But sometimes tough tickets to get, but I know where I can get my tickets, sherrystickets.com. That's right. Go to sherrystickets.com. There is no hidden fees. I say it all the time. Let that hit home. You are not going to go on there and go, oh, $100 tickets. Cool. That's very affordable. And then you get at the end $250 because, fees. What does not happen here. The price you see on the screen is the price you'll pay. They got sports, concerts, theaters, you name it. sherrystickets.com, and save yourself an additional 10% off by using EoP10. That's right, guys. Back to the action here. Bebo Paul, I'm glad you said, because that was kind of my point here. Like, we saw him progressing in the beginning, towards the end of the season, and you even saw there was an article out, and you saw pictures of Harden with him, and in a post game, Harden, I think it was maybe like one of the last 5 or 6 games, he was just gushing over B-Ball Paul, and it's nice to see, like you said, having this backup, like that. It's just not losing. That's all we need. Don't lose. Stay even. Fly solo, whatever it is, however you want to keep it. No minuses, no pluses. Just there you go. 0. Just and that's all we need, and we can do a lot. And I know, here's my thing, is I keep going. It is the Nets, and I play that in the back of my head a little bit. And I look over at the playoff bracket. Celtics are doing the same thing with the Hawks. They're 2-0. There's a good chance there'll be either a sweep or a gentleman's sweep in that situation. I'm really excited about what I'm seeing here, from the growth factor in Embiid, from the health of Harden. But I think, to me, and swinging back to what we were talking about, because he always seems to take a back seat unless people talk about his contract, is Tobias Harris. He could be a linchpin in progressing into the Eastern Conference Final and further, because he's quietly puts up 20 points. Yeah. He quietly grabs rebounds and has a couple steals and blocks to his game.
He was a spark for that comeback.
Yeah, very much so. So, that's my thing is, and you see what the Nets are doing. They're double teaming him. Double teaming the crap out of Embiid.
Not only that, Claxton and O'Neal, they weren't just they were bouncing him around from block to block. Just they were beating him up, and
no calls either.
Yeah, and about Tobias, I got to be honest. When he first came here, I thought he got a little too much money, but now
I think people still feel that way. I don't think those ever will change.
If you can bring him back at a reasonable contract, that's normal. He's a solid 4. He's a solid 3-4 that can step up and take a game over at times.
Listen, him and his dad took advantage of of Elton Brand and I guess it was
Brett Brown.
Would it be Brett Brown at the time?
And I know Elton Brand is the one, but Brett Brown was probably heavily involved.
Yeah, so they took advantage of that, and the fact that they completely asked the bed with Jimmy buckets. Like that all that played into his favor.
Before you go any further, the WTA Sixers podcast. Hey guys, big fan here. We're a podcast about Sixers in Brazil.
That's pretty
awesome. Brazil.
I love it.
Thanks for listening.
Guys. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, we'll have to connect. Maybe you could come on a show via StreamYard one time. Connect with us.
Yeah, well, let's see.
We got fans all over.
Yeah, except for my house. My family hates me, but that's beside the point. But no, I'm going to ask you guys. I'll let you guys answer the question. Would a fan be wrong being excited now going into this Celtics series with the win, of course?
Why aren't the fans excited before this series? Like this I called in the 97.5. You're going to get me to flip out now. I called in the 97.5 to Gargano, and I haven't called in years. I was driving back. I had about a 30-minute drive, so I'm like, let me do this. And I flipped out because he was saying it, these curmudgeons that are just like, oh, well, don't get excited because they're going to lose to the Celtics. Like, why is that the attitude? Like, it's so soft, A. And B, the Celtics are not that good. Like, they're good. Don't get me wrong, but we're just as good. Like so they are beatable. It's not like this juggernaut. They've lost games down the stretch. They've blown big leads, just like the Sixers have. Like, they have question marks too. And how are they going to match up with Joel Embiid? The same reasons you're worried about Tatum and Brown, you got to worry about Harden, Embiid, Maxey, Tobias Harris, and now we have role players that can fill in. Like, get out of here with that bullshit. You should get excited now. So I'll be done in a second. you get excited now and stop being a soft fan base. Like, I'm scared of the Celtics. Oh, what if we let root for the team and be a fan? Don't be like or I have to be right or cover myself. It kills me. Like,
I love winding him up and get him going. He's like a toy.
It doesn't seem like it takes much.
No, it doesn't. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree with Freddie. If you're not pumped, don't even watch. The fans have to be pumped at this point. And if you don't think we can beat Boston, this isn't the Larry Bird, Kevin McHale Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the 2016 Golden State team. It's a team, like Fred said, matches up basically good with us. If not, we have some advantages in places.
Is it the dreaded can't get past the second round moniker, and plus the Celtics always seem to have our number that's kind of sitting on everybody's shoulder?
I think
sure.
I think it's in the back of people's heads, but we have to get over it.
But yeah, exactly. Like, of course that's in your mind, but like, you got to beat them. Like, you try again, you keep trying until you do it. And if they fail, they fail. But if they fail, I just don't see the positive of going in with that attitude to say, I told you so.
Yeah.
Or, I knew that was going to happen.
Listen, I feel
that's real fun.
I have learned doing this job for as many years as we've done it that some fans would rather be right than win.
Ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Like and I used to be like, it was a minority, like a very 5%, would feel that way. I'm starting to feel like that's 25% or more that people really would prefer to be like, he's a bum, and him turn out to be a bum. Like Bryce Harper. I mean, people, when Bryce Harper was coming to the Phillies, people were like, he's a bum. We're overpaying him. They're bringing him in to sell jerseys, and that's it. He ain't gonna make a difference. Like, he doesn't have a winning mentality. Whatever rumor or whatever thing they want to come up with. And I'm sitting like, why?
Teammate, all that jazz.
Yeah, all that. Like, I'm like, why? I mean, I know we're Philadelphia and we have Negadelphia and all that stuff in our blood, but I don't remember being that down on our teams when they're doing as good. It's like, we don't know how to win. I think we know how to lose more as a fan base than we know how to win.
It's the most wins in a regular season since the 01 Sixers. Yeah. And I remember in 01, there was flags all over Delaware County.
100%.
I grew up in Collingdale, all up and down McDade Boulevard, Sixers flags everywhere. Now, I'm not saying everyone's going to put the flags on their cars because it has been subdued because we've been kind of used to this second round exit thing. But like the whole and you can even be a believe it when I see it person, but to just say things like, well, the Celtics, this, I don't know. It's a curmudgeon. I just don't see the fun of it. Wouldn't you rather be like, yeah, let's go, let's beat the Celtics, and if they win and you're so happy and excited, rather than sitting there
oh no, I'm telling you, I'm starting to believe that people rather be miserable a-holes.
They want to be right. They want to say, I told you so. We couldn't do it.
Well, they're up 20 in the first quarter. I hope they better not blow the lead. Yeah. We know how they blow the lead. It's why would you think like that?
My thought is, I'll tell you,
but don't say it.
I'm thinking people are like that because they were so used to losing for a while that the only wins they got was by pointing out the fact that they were going to lose. I know it sounds silly, but it's true. But
it's been a nice little run here of basketball guaranteed playoffs every year. We didn't have that. We
forever.
We had the Iverson run, but we would get stopped by the Pacers a couple times there in the first round, and it wasn't really ever a team that you thought had a chance. We went through all this stuff. We've got exited in the second round, but every one of these teams has on paper had an actual chance to get to the NBA Finals, and I think that's just taken for granted. It's just like, oh well, they didn't win it all. Well, they haven't won it all since 1983.
Yeah.
So that was my point.
I wasn't born yet.
I was.
The Eagles finally just got one in 17. Yeah. We didn't go through 2000s going up. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. No, the lake was packed, and we were let down when they lost. You know what I mean? I just don't understand the whole already lost mentality.
All right, a couple other questions for you guys before we move on in the subjects here. Freddie, you tweeted out, pay James Harden after game one.
I've been tweeting it all year.
I know you have. But my point is, are you ready to pay to keep him around, say, 3+ years at this point?
Yes. I was ready in the regular season. And that's another thing. People are like, oh, if you get that James Harden, it's like, well, that James Harden is pretty much what you've gotten most of the year. My only concern is his injury history and the lift, because the mid-range game isn't what it was in the regular season, and you saw that in game 2. If he's going to be injured all the time, that's my only red flag. But You need a point guard. I personally have never seen a point guard in a Sixers uniform play. Maurice Cheeks, I'm told, is the last one that played the game. Andre Miller, maybe, to run an offense the way Harden does. Now, I know Iverson was a point guard, but he was just scoring. And they
Eric
moved him to
Snow,
two guard.
would you call Eric Snow a point guard?
Yeah, but he couldn't. He had no offensive game. He couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
Couldn't score at all. Like Andre Miller could knock down shots, in the paint or had three here and there. He had an impact. Like Eric Snow stunk. He couldn't hit anything.
I wonder what the I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think James Harden, when he was out west, especially with the Rockets, I feel like he felt he had to put up, to average the 34 for the year. And I think here, maybe, as he gets older, he doesn't feel like he has to do that.
I think it's more the maturity factor.
Yeah.
I'm getting older. I want to win a championship. It's not going to happen that way. Like, embrace working with Embiid, embrace being a facilitator. And I mean, how many?
He also never really had anyone out there.
No.
He had some. He was kind of like Iverson. Like they would bring up guys after they were washed up. Like, Chris
Webb.
Webb.
1 year with T-Mac or no?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I forget.
but you're right. It's just,
But like it would be guys that were like, good name, but like they weren't what they were at one
they were
point.
good names 8 years ago.
it was like guys that Dan Snyder would sign for the Redskins.
Yeah,
Like, it was like,
And then he goes to the Nets. He made the right call. He knew something was jacked up in that locker room.
like,
Let me get out of here.
Yep,
And he was trying to come here before he went there too.
I heard that.
It's just the Rockets were like, no way. You just retired, then went to the Sixers, and you think we're gonna trade Harden to you, Maury? No, that ain't happening. Like they hated him for it. Yeah.
At least he tried.
The other quick question I had for you. Let me go back to my notes. So, the answer is, do you care? No, yes, and shouldn't matter to anybody. I'll start with you, Joe. JJ Redick put out there, former Sixer, former teammate of Joel Embiid, that I don't believe he is the MVP. I voted for the Greek Freak. Is that him being a troll, trying to get clicks or something and get his name out there again?
Well, he is from Duke.
So, or do you think this is a real deal thing?
I think from what I've seen from JJ, I like him on first take. He seems like a genuine guy. I don't know if I think that was his true take. I think he thought Giannis was the MVP, and he caught crap from our fans, which that's our reputation, and you would expect.
Well,
that.
I really think that these national shows like First Take and all that they know how to get their name out there, and it's by pissing off Philly or stroking Philly. One or the other. Like, either love us, or hate us. And either way, we're going to come at you.
They court controversy.
Yeah.
The same way what Stephen A. does with the Dallas fans.
Yeah.
I mean, the show wouldn't have the ratings it does if they.
But you do believe that's his.
I don't see JJ
truth.
As a troll. I was joking.
Well, I'm
about
just saying
the
that
Duke thing, but
he's not trying to get more clicks or trying to Orlando Scandrick the situation.
He's definitely not Orlando Scandrick.
I know, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. To me, he seems genuine. I don't know what the producers are telling him, if they're saying disagree. I don't know the inner workings, but he seems to like our organization. He was, just.
Maybe. When he calls the games, he would definitely be. You could definitely hear the pro Sixers attitude in him. But Fred, what do you got?
He definitely has always been pro fans, pro Sixers. I think he did vote for Giannis. I think it was an honest take, but I think he was just reaching. I think it's ridiculous to come up with that observation out of the two. Like, Giannis is not even in the mix. It's Jokic or Embiid. And like, for him to bring him into it, and what his deciding factor was like a point. If you divided it up, was like a 0.01 point per game or 1 point. So like, it was so minuscule. You're a terrible ex-teammate. You're a terrible, that's terrible. Like, if it came down to that,
0.%
if it came down to it, like, and that's your boy that you've been teammates with, like, you get, like, you vote for your boy. Like, I don't even, so like, I kind of have a bad taste in my mouth about him. Like, go ahead.
I agree. I mean, I'm not happy he did it, but that's exactly why I said I think that's his real legit opinion.
Right. It is
because Fred's my buddy from high school. If I thought Fred didn't deserve the MVP, I would be doing a disservice to this show if I came on here and said Fred's definitely MVP, even though I might think Al's the MVP.
We all know Al's the MVP.
but That's what I'm saying, though. If that was his reasoning,
it was weak.
It's terribly weak. Like if he had a better argument, then I would understand it. I think he didn't want to pick Embiid and Jokic. He mentally wanted to be different, and like he was trying to find reasons to pick Giannis, and he found the stupidest reason possible. And he should get crushed by the fans. And every game he's in Philly, someone should say something to him, and we'll see his true colors at that point.
Yeah.
Because if he turns on the fan base suddenly over this, then we know he's full of it.
Yep.
But yeah, it pissed me off. And I used to love him. Now I'm annoyed with him. I don't really care for him anymore.
I hope Joel wins it in spite of him now.
I know,
Yeah.
and he'll do a thing about how much Joe deserves it and how they all deserved it. I mean, it's still clear. Joel Embiid, he plays both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
We put it up a few weeks ago. It's just so annoying. Why would you pick Giannis? At least pick Jokic and then like make that argument, like which still would annoy everyone. But like the Giannis argument is so stupid. It's so annoying.
Yeah, that reason JJ gave, it was like he had to stay up all night, just trying to find something to give the fans as a reason. It was weak sauce. It just was.
It was, and if you're looking for a good reason to have a good time, I go to Dolan's Bar, 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park. Tell PJ that EoP sent you. Go to dolansbar.com to see all the great things that are coming up. Quiz on music, great times, memorabilia giveaways, you name it, they got it. And we always tell you, you never know who's going to pop in through the door there. But this time I can actually tell you. May 13th from 1 to 8, Wiffle Ball Madness is back at Dolan's Bar. That's right. We've been part of it every year. Edge of Philly Sports will be part of it again. This time, Charlie Manuel will be joining the Wiffle Ball Madness team with Mickey Morandini. And, of course, Hollis Thomas will be there. And our favorite Philly sports guy, Jamie, will be there as well. And there's other names to be added to the list later. But Wiffle Ball Mania and Eagles Autism Fundraise will be back at what we call Doladelphia Sports Day at Dolan's Bar on May 13th. Come out, hang out. EoP will be broadcasting it live. The Wiffle Ball games are fun. Mickey's just down-to-earth guy, and we all know Chuck is too. So I actually got to meet him during spring training earlier this year. So Charlie Manuel will sit there and talk Phillies with you all day, every day.
He seems like a good dude.
Very good dude. But go down to Dolan's on May 13th from 1 to 8. Wiffle ball, I believe, is free unless you do the home run derby, which money is going towards the fundraiser for the Eagles Autism. So check it out. Doladelphia Sports Day is back with Wiffle Ball Madness May 13th, starting from 1 to 8.
Just real quick, I run into Mickey Morandini like probably 2 or 3 times a week. He comes up and golfs at Clayton Park Golf Course where I work.
Okay.
We give him the red carpet as being part of the '93 team, but he's a great guy.
Yeah, we've known Mickey for a couple of years too. He's like I said, down to earth guy. He's local. He stayed local. He's an ambassador to the Phillies as an organization. Yeah, like all of us have talked about how the '93 Phillies really shaped our Philly sports fandom in here because that was like the first big team that we all can kind of remember.
Yeah, I was like 9, I think. So
I was 10. So yeah, I mean, it was.
I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's one of those things that stick with you, and that's why they're beloved, even though they kind of, didn't win. It's kind of like the 22 last year's Phillies. They didn't win, but real quick, I want to switch gears here and move into a little Eagles talk with you. The big news floating around town, of course, is Jalen Hurts got paid.
Did he?
He did. And did he ever? Yeah, right. And Fred, I'll start with you. He got paid, but are you happy with the money? I know it's not your money, but you think it was a good deal? Did they do it the right way? I mean, overall, your thoughts about the contract extension?
I don't understand how you can complain about it. I mean, you're going to have to pay for your quarterback if you want to keep your quarterback here. Like there's no making deals. It's like this is the one opportunity for this kid to make. Did you see his contract before this? It was like 1.8, and he was going to make 4.5. Like the strides this kid has made, like he has to get paid that much. And in 4 years, they're going to rip this contract up and pay him more because in 5 years it's going to be undervalued. Yeah. So like the cap's going to go up
before this is over.
Stop giving me all the cap nonsense. If there's one thing Howie Roseman does great, it's the cap. He's going to get it under control. I was reading up on a little bit of this. Not a lot of other teams are as smart as Howie. I think we take this for granted, this whole cap thing. Like 5 years
I
ago,
got
the
proof
Giants,
right here.
the
Yeah.
Giants laughed that people still use computers to make their data. Like, that's pretty insane, though, right?
Yeah,
If you think about it, John Gettleman or whoever the guy was, maybe the guy before him, I forget.
Gentlemen.
Anyhow, so like if you think about that, there's other general managers out there that are just clueless. So shout out to him. And then if you break down, it's funny how I brought up the Giants.
Yeah.
The Daniel Jones per year
I have it
compared
right
to
here,
the.
yeah.
Go ahead, can you bring it up?
Oh, you wanted me to pull up on the screen?
No, it's okay. If you got it verbally, that's fine.
That might
All right,
be
well,
an Albert Hainsworth type deal, that Daniel Jones deal, where they look back on it and say, what were we thinking?
Oh, it's terrible. And it's funny, Giants fans on Twitter like crushing, like, good, you just signed a running back for whatever. Like, it's hilarious because they really think Daniel Jones
guy I
is
work
good.
with is a Giants fan, and he was sitting right next to me when the news broke, and it pops up on the phone. And then the news broke right after this. What I'm about to share with you is, all right, so looking at year to year. So next year, the cap hit for Jalen Hurts will be $6.15 million, right? Daniel Jones is $21 million. Each year it keeps getting worse.
They're idiots. That's what I'm saying.
2024, 13.65 for Jalen, 45 million for the Giants.
They're so dumb.
That might be one of the worst since Albert Hainsworth.
The 2025 will be $21.77 million for Hurts, $39.5 million for Jones, and then 2026, $31.77 million and $56.5 million. Now, according to the cap will go up between now and then, so they'll even out a little bit, but still
not that much.
But my point is, that's what makes this again. The cap structuring thing, like, genius. I mean, we all have had our issues with Howie in the past. I was one of the loudest ones for a while. I will be honest about that. When he was screwing things up, it was bad. But
I was so mad about that one thing. I tweeted "Fire Howie" probably like 17 to 25 days ago.
We talked about going down to the link and
I look like a psychopath.
And getting one of those.
Let me dial it back.
One of those digital billboards on the back of a truck and driving around that says "Fire Howie," just driving around the link.
Now he's making himself look like.
But the one thing we can say is that nobody really questioned his
trades or his financial. It's always been the draft.
Yeah. The financial
acumen.
Yeah, I guess the contract and all that. But right here proves it. Right here proves it. When was the last time we had a top 5 quarterback here? Donovan McNabb?
I mean, you could argue when they paid Wentz, but then he fell off a cliff.
He literally for 1 year. Okay.
Statistically, he didn't hang. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
To the eye test, no. But you can make that case. Donovan McNabb, then before that.
Yeah. And now like we always hear, like, for the last decade or so, not decade, but the last 5 years or so, it's Tom Brady, it's Aaron Rodgers, these top quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, then Justin Herbert and Burrows started joining the conversation.
They still didn't get paid yet.
And that's what makes this even better.
Yep.
Because they said, listen, we're going to make you the top paid quarterback in the league per year.
The top player in NFL history. Ever.
Until.
And no cap hits are so small.
Yep.
They have literally said, they like I just imagine Howie like running down, going like flipping the bird off to the Bengals and the Chargers and going,
look,
have fun,
guys.
Yeah. And when you look at Jalen, honestly, is there any player at any position that you would rather give this money to, that you feel safe? He doesn't have the whatever was going on in Carson Wentz.
You're paying AJ Brown close to the same amount of money. I mean, he's making about what, 25 a year?
Yeah.
Okay, so on average, it's
all the guaranteed money in the signing bonus.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
to your point,
I don't expect Jalen to go out and get in trouble with the law. No. I don't go out. I don't see Jalen doing the Wentz thing. Just his mind melts if we bring in some kid that looks good in the preseason.
No, I think if you bring somebody in behind him, it's just going to make him better. Go draft a quarterback in round 2 for this one. Let's see what this one takes.
So the intangibles are what made the transition from Wentz to Hurts so easy to root for him. Even though I loved Wentz so much, I could never not root for Hurts because of the intangibles, the hard worker, he says the right stuff.
The leadership.
And Howie even said it. I was listening to 97.5. Gargano, I guess, was texting with him on the air. And he texted me, he's like, you signed him to this contract. You used to be, your philosophy was switch quarterbacks every 5 or 6 years. What changed? He's like, the Terminator became my quarterback. Like, this guy is in the gym every single day, hard work, hard work, hard work. And that's what you want in a quarterback, no matter what. He's a leader. The guys like him. The teammates like him. Like, you can't have a dork as much as I liked Wentz. He was a dork.
He wasn't even just a dork. He was just antisocial.
He was.
Maybe. Yeah. When
I mean, I think guys really tried to, like, I think like guys like Kelsey and Ertz and all them really tried to get around and like guys, he's actually a good guy, you know.
I'm sure he's a
But
great.
then
He
the one thing he was a nice guy, and no one ever said bad about him as far as that goes, at least except his little Sproles tiff. But I don't want to make it a Wentz combo. I just want to make it the point that, like, Hurts is just not that, and he's what we've always waited for, the Tom Brady, the guy that's always going to get better. And barring injury, I think we're good. I think this is the move, and I think he's just going to keep getting better because he's relentless. His work ethic.
And the fact that they have a no trade clause, which the Eagles don't do, is.
But come on, they would have, like, Wentz didn't have it, and he picked his spot.
Listen,
I think that was kind of like a throw in, but like, if you think about it,
a lot of teams.
If Hurts,
but
but all his agent would have had to do is go, he's not going to be happy if he goes there. He's going to be a disgruntled, and then that trades out. So I think it's a nice thing. Don't get me wrong.
They still could trade him, though.
But they wouldn't, though, because the other team's not going to take him if he doesn't want to play.
You're
there.
right.
Same reason why the Bears didn't take Wentz, because his agent said we're not going to play. We're not going to do it. He wants to go to Indianapolis. He forced his way to the Colts.
Yeah, so
what is he doing now, by the way?
Probably leading a Bible group somewhere.
I mean,
youth pastor.
I'm just saying, like, is he even? He's not.
I don't know where. I don't know if he play. If he's got his ego, obviously it has to be completely checked. It's
USFL.
I mean, he could be a backup in this league, but if he'll be a backup,
no. Can he be a backup in this league mentally?
I don't.
No, it's up to him.
I don't think so. I don't think he can. Like, I mean, it's true. Like, I mean, I look past probably some
2-6. You have, you know what I mean? People have to eat that crow at some point. Like Mariota probably thought he was a starter all these times, but then he realized, hey, no, there are no offers on the table.
You would think, but some people are just thick-headed, man. And if I can see anybody in the National Football League being that thick-headed, be Carson Wentz.
He should go to Denver.
Right. Yeah.
Sean Payton's the first guy that exposed Wentz in that game, and he had him looking like it was his first bad game in the Superdome, and he knew what to do.
But he's definitely not playing unless
I know he's not playing. He's going to be a backup, and he'll learn what his flaws are through Payton, who was the first to recognize that.
I would happily be,
and that would help him.
NFL.
And you do have a chance, actually, if Russell Wilson is totally awful like he was this year. You know what I mean? But then I found out, like, his best friend, I didn't realize this, his best friend died. He was going through some, like, really mental stuff. Not his best friend, some guy that really helped him with his mindset and staying positive. Like, that guy, that rock, passed away. So, like, he didn't have that. So there's probably definitely some major mental things going on that
did not know that.
I kind of feel bad
for
crushing him so much.
Russ is kind of an outsider himself. That he doesn't.
You heard about, like, he had to make an appointment to talk to him.
He had his own private coach that he would go off with on practice that had nothing, that wasn't employed by Denver. I think that's insane.
Well, they had part of his deal was he got his own office.
Yeah.
And if the teammate wanted to talk to him, they had to make an appointment. No, we take this stuff with a grain of salt because we've heard this stuff.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, that was one of the things that came out, like, mid to late season last year.
Right.
Or, like, we're not giving this money to Jalen and like the Cardinals, they were trying to put that Call of Duty Xbox limit in on his contract.
Oh yeah, you have to watch. You have to watch so much video, so much. Yeah,
you have to force him to watch tape. Jalen
right there tells me to not sign the contract.
Football. But Dad's a coach.
Yep.
I mean, he proved. My question marks for him were, can he throw the football? Because he had not proven it, and he proved it without a shadow of a doubt.
Like 10%. Yeah,
it was like 50% last year. Like it was wild. Like halftime of the Vikings game, I literally said, I'm full in on Hurts. Are we going to the Super Bowl? I remember saying that to Shane Half. I'm like, are we? And I'm like, I know this is crazy because I watched them pick apart that, and I'm like, they were in zone, and he just picked it apart, which is something he wasn't doing. The IQ wasn't there. And I mean, and it's proven. Like, I think he's just going to get better. And it's a great deal.
And then go to say it again. Like, what team in the NFC really scares you that's going to put up a fight against the Eagles this year and moving forward a little bit?
I mean, it'll change.
I mean,
We're
it
not
will
that team. Our team is not going to be the same. We're going to take a step back.
We're
this
not
year.
going to have no. But here's the thing: is,
Honestly, the Cowboys are loading up.
what if I told you you're going to take 3 game losses now than you did last year? What is your record?
What'd you say?
Like, what if I said to you they're going to lose 3 more games than they did last year?
It'll be 11-6.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's my
Which
point.
is understandable, but
Yeah.
I'm saying we'll still be a good team. But there's going to be someone to scare. Like the 49ers might. I don't know if they get their quarterback play under control. They're a problem.
They lost their defensive coordinator. That could be a huge change for them too.
Now, what do you really think about Brock Purdy? You think the last year was like a fluke, or you think he's like the real deal?
I don't know. But you still got Trey Lance there though too. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he seems like he
he
can't stay healthy, and they don't know what to do.
I don't know. Yeah, if Purdy
Yeah.
is the real deal, but I don't even think it just like it looked pretty good. Like people kept non-believing and Purdy just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. So but then what did they say? Once you get a half a season of tape under your belt, these defensive coordinators figure it out. So we'll find out this year. Did they name a starter? Or is it a competition now?
As far as I know, Purdy is going in this as the starter.
I thought
They
he
have
was
to
going to be
trade
able to
Lance in
start
this draft.
year.
Lance has to be traded in this draft then.
You would think. I mean, they took him in the first round out of North Dakota State, right?
Yeah, for number 3.
Yeah.
Traded up.
Yep. So I mean,
Yeah, but you might not. I mean, you're not going to get a haul back for him. You're not going to get.
You might. Yeah, not a haul, but you're gonna.
Then again,
this is a young
then
quarterback.
again,
who just got hurt.
Carson Wentz with all his weevils they were able to get it for. But then again, do you think
they had the stats to hang on?
Yeah,
with
but
him.
my question is, if it
Wentz
was
had
not
one.
Frank Reich, if it was anybody else, do you think they make that same type of trade with anybody else besides Frank? And
the Bears wanted to.
Do you think they were going to give a first round pick?
I don't know what the compensation was, but I'm pretty. The Eagles preferred the deal with the Bears.
Oh, so
and the Wentz camp
better.
stopped it. So it must have been. And they had who there? Matt Nagel or Nagy at the time.
Nagy, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it hurts. It's unbelievable. That was a great deal.
Yeah.
And then they have another signing today.
Oh yeah.
They restructured Mailata's contract.
Oh
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
But his restructuring is not really helping us this much this year. It's more for next year. I think right here I have it. Next year they'll save $7.6 million, and the following year they'll save almost $7.8 million. This year it's only like one something. It's not a huge. It's more for the future, but that tells you something.
Yeah.
Because of the signing of the contract set up the way it's set up for Jalen, you can that means Devontae Smith is going to be here past his rookie contract.
I hope so.
You know, you can keep a guy like AJ Brown around because a lot of times when you make big signings like this, and I was one of the people saying during the season, I said I would not be surprised if one of the older guys who have a bigger contract would be on the block to make room for this, and they almost did, but they restructured and all that stuff, but because of Darius, we saw what Darius. And I actually even said, I think I said it on the show with Joe, and I said Darius Slay, I think may not be an Eagle next year. They might cut him or something. Or
that was a wild turn of events there. Those couple.
They
days.
never actually really cut him. They just reworked his contract.
I mean, they set a date to cut him. Like he said goodbye, then they restructured.
Well, it would have been a June 1st cut if he was cut.
Yeah.
We talked about signing. Zacchaeus, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Zacchaeus.
St. Joe's Prep.
Yep.
He was a former Falcon. Little depth there. I mean, if you want to look at it this way, your wide receiver room. Who's your odd man out? Who's your wide receiver room right now?
Well, let me talk about Zacchaeus just a little bit because I'll say this: when was it Joe that sent it? Not you, Joe. Joe Sheeran, I think, texted it, or was it you in the group text?
Yeah.
This guy Zacchaeus, I don't watch Falcons games, but every Falcons game I've watched, that guy has popped up. And I always think of the Bible, the Zacchaeus from the Bible or whatever, which makes me think of him. But he always made a play in any game I've watched. So I don't know how good of a, but we lost Zach Pascal. I know he's short. He's like 5'8". I got to hear 195 pounds. Yeah. Last year he had 40 catches, 533 yards. And he was 70% of that Falcons offense. So,
I've only been in the league, a few years?
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
Undrafted free agent. The only thing is his height, 5'8", but he played mostly outside the first 2 years, and then he's played inside last year, so he can play both. We like versatility at the spot. I don't, for Zach Pascal, I think that it would be that replacement. The only thing is, he's 5'8", too small.
Well,
He made plays though. Any game I was gambling on, I'd be like, let me check this, and then he'd do something. Special teams, I see him make tackles.
that's
Mhm.
I was
Always
going to say
pop up.
it depends, what they're going to do with them. Like, if they want to throw him in there for a jet sweep, a wide receiver screen, a bubble screen, it's something just to get him the ball in his hands and see what he can do with it. Because I mean, right now he's going to probably be the wide receiver 4.
Well, I mean, that was going to kind of be my question.
Yeah.
Like, where would he land?
3 or
Because
4.
you got him, you got Brown. Brown and Devontae Smith. Those two are up
They're
there.
locked in.
Britton Covey technically is still a wide receiver.
He's not. He's a returner, and he should be gone.
Yeah, Greg Ward is still under contract right
I
now.
always liked Greg Ward in the slot. I thought his hands.
He was everybody's Turner. Remember Turner? Everybody just loved him, and like he just never.
Paul Turner.
Yeah, just never did anything.
Well, but Greg
did play. I mean, he was sure hands. Like he was always that sure hand guy.
Reminds me of Avant.
Carson threw to him a lot at one point.
Yeah.
But
and
ever since he left, they like cut him and then they signed him back for like
he's been on the practice squad. I know other teams are picking him up.
Devin Allen is still on the roster technically. Quez Watkins is still on the.
I mean, that's the question mark. Quez Watkins.
I think got to put in the work, man. He's got Quez, but he's got to work on the route running. He's got to work on his route trees. I mean, 2 years ago, Mike Quick was like in love with him, and you can love speed, but you got to put the work in. If you're rounding off one of the later games in the season, he rounded off that in route, and the guy came right in front of him, played the ball, and picked it off. And that's just. If you look at Devontae, he's a perfectionist with the route running, even though he's not that.
And there's another guy who's a little guay who plays like a big man.
I mean, you watch Devontae on some of them catches, go up and get it, high point it. I mean, I didn't know we were going to sign Zacchaeus. So the other night I made a list of third round receivers that are slot guys that play predominantly in the slot. So now I'm not as worried about that position because if God forbid, if AJ or Devontae went down, we're right back where we were before we got AJ, where they can just double, say, if AJ's out, they can just double Devontae and then bracket Goddard with zone over the top,
and then you still got Goddard exactly. I don't think I still am worried about that. I would say because I don't think Zacchaeus.
No, he could be. He won't take the spot.
He's like the Zach Pascal role, maybe.
Yeah.
But Quez Watkins, I'm with you. Like I don't. I think I'm out on him.
I think the Eagles are out on him.
What's he? A 7th round pick? 6th round pick?
Yeah. I honestly think he
dropped some big balls.
Playoffs and towards the end of the season,
catching the Super Bowl.
I think they're out on him. I don't. If he makes a team, it's out of purely they don't have any other choices.
So like draft wise, I do want to draft. I want Mims actually.
Yeah.
Keep raving about him. That's who I. Because look, you're gonna have to pay. Like now that we paid Hurts, we're gonna have to pay AJ Brown again too, and that's probably gonna be the end at that point because we're gonna have to pay Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
So we have to have another one drafted ready to go at that point. Is it too early because their contract will come up? I don't know. But I think it's a position of
where do
need.
you draft that? Because right now you're sitting with a 2 firsts, a 2nd, a 3rd, and 2 7ths.
Yeah.
Now they have 12 plus
next year with
so they could maybe work something like that in and maybe sneak back into the 4th or 5th. But Fred, knowing what all the Bijan hype or Jalen Carter for number 10, where do you, if you're going to draft a wide receiver, where would you do that?
3rd round.
I
think Marvin Mims will be there.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you could.
I didn't think he was going to go past late 2.
And I think he may have to move up to get him. He has gone up the boards a bit. I mean, if you don't get him, you don't get him. I get that. I think you may have to trade in, or maybe you get him next year, the receiver. But at some point, we're going to have to fill that. And I like the Joe Banner approach with all positions. Like draft them way ahead of time and let them sit behind veterans and develop. You know,
I've
It
got
works out for some people.
I have two guys. I have Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee,
speed.
he's just a straight burner at 6 foot, and I like Josh Downs from North Carolina. He's smaller. He's 5'10", about $180, but I watched some of his highlights and the one game against Clemson. He's just shiftiness. He's after the catch is just amazing.
And I think you'll see the Eagles lean like forever. It's like if you're a track star, the Eagles wanted you. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like they were trying to reincarnate Deshaun Jackson. Like that was what
Yeah.
that it was for the longest time. If I think you will see if they're looking for a wide receiver, it's going to be somebody with more strength than speed. But I mean, speed, like AJ Brown he's atypical. You got a guy his size with his strength, but he also has speed behind him. He's not the fastest guy.
He's a TO.
Yeah,
I think they stay with speed, Al. I think you got your one strong guy. I think they would speed kills.
I think they lean towards a shiftiness of somebody who's going to be stronger and be able to go up and battle for the ball. I'm not saying slow. I'm saying he's not going to be if there's a top-rated cheetah speed guy out there, but that's all he is. But you have some guy with maybe a little less speed, but has
funny how you say cheetah. That
Yeah.
that's why I think with Mims and he'll go contest the balls.
Yep.
He will. So
He'll high point it.
I don't
We'll find out.
I don't think the size necessarily matters like it used to at one point.
Well, I
you
think
know?
Devontae Smith.
You
with
see
that
Tyreek
swing.
Hill, he goes and gets
Yeah,
balls.
He plays way above what his height is. I mean,
Exactly.
there's also Jackson Smith. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. Nigba, I think it is, from Ohio State.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the Shane Half and
Jigwa,
the
yeah.
Chalk Talk.
I only saw 3 games.
They love him.
But I love, especially in the Michigan game. I'm a big Michigan guy and University of Miami guy, but I don't think the U's coming back. But still,
I got a Michigan question for you because I just heard Mark Schofield was on our network 3 weeks ago with Dives talking corners. I brought up DJ Turner weeks ago, and all the guys, and I love them, they're awesome. We're like, dude, he's not even on our radar. And Schofield was all about him. Now, you said you're a Michigan guy. I know he crushed it in the combine. I think fastest 40 time in the combine.
I think he was one of the top 2. But yeah.
Yeah. And he's like versatile. He's just small. What are your thoughts on DJ Turner?
I love him. Because I love Michigan guys and I like him. I like his attitude because he is a ferocious small, but I like the longer corners. I just do. I like the 6'1", 6'2" guys. And the other thing that I really wanted to get to is, has Sean Desai given us a press conference? Do we know what kind of defense he's running?
No, and I don't think you will. I think the one thing, because Howie kind of slipped and said this when they brought Desai in, and when they were actually, it might even be before that. I mean, when they were looking, they are going to keep everything under the wraps until it has to be seen.
Yeah, because that's
I think that's one of the few good things about having a new defensive coordinator come in, that they know. Like, I mean, they kind of, in the best of both worlds, are trying to find silver lining in the situation. You have an offensive coordinator who's been working with him, so I think that's going to be a little seamless. And you actually might see, I think with somebody who knows him and plays with him, I think you're going to see a guy who's going to put Jalen Hurts in less risk. Putting his body in less risk with this versus with what's his face?
We're talking about Desai.
No, I know, but I'm saying with the offensive coordinator,
Shane
Steichen. But with Desai, I think they're to keep it so under wraps. And how he said that, he goes, the beauty of it is they're not going to bringing somebody new. They're not going to know what it is until it's there. So they're not going to tell you anything. I think you'll listen. After the draft, maybe OTAs.
Well, you'll be able to identify some things based on the players they do draft,
I just mean for us, like, all the people talking about the draft, if we're going to play a lot of 34 front like we did last year, or some cover 6s, I mean, that matters when we're deciding who they're going to draft,
the success that defense had under Gannon, I can't imagine when they're doing the interview process, they're going to just totally reverse the whole thing.
Go back to like a wide 9.
Yeah. Like, and isn't he under who's the guy from Denver?
Vic Fangio.
Vic Fangio. Isn't he under that tree?
Yes.
So I can't imagine that it's going to be much different. There's just going to be different wrinkles. Maybe he's more aggressive and the fans can calm down a little bit about
some more stunts, some more
blitzing in a league that throws so much, and it's probably dumb to blitz that much.
When they picked him up, I looked at, so he's a guy who will flash different packages and pull guys back and all that. so he'll keep you guessing at the line, kind of like the Niners did.
Yeah.
But he also is a guy who, I don't know, one of you two just said it, stunts a lot.
I was
So,
saying,
you know, they'll shift the line right pre-snap, you know.
I
And,
love that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Listen, it's when you have big guys on an O-line, but you can hit them from the left or the right and go low into the hip or something. Now, you know, you can really clog up holes.
Yep.
I mean, you could do it standing straight up, and I wonder if they'll find what they'll do with Jordan, like with his size.
Jordan Davis.
Yeah, like I
think this is the year if we're going to see, can he play 3 downs?
because everybody was. I mean, if anything, I think most people were disappointed overall.
Well, you know what, Al, Jordan, if they do go back, you know, after last year when we were getting gashed by the run and we signed Linval and Sue, we
Mhm.
kind of went to the 3-4.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan's going to play the nose, and if he does good, it's going to be hard for us to find on the stat sheet.
Sure, no.
On the stat sheet.
Yeah.
Because the nose tackle just sucks up the blocks, and you
Yeah.
know.
He's going to have to learn how to rush the passer, though, or at some point,
He is.
or you're going to have to replace what Hargrave did. But
I mean, I like what Josh Sweat can do. I like
Yeah.
what, you know, they have some guys, but right now they are very old on that line now outside of Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Sweat's not old, but
What's Reddick at? I mean, this is
Reddick's like 27, 28,
yeah,
right?
so he's not too bad.
No, he's not bad.
God, I love his motor too, coming
yeah.
off the edge.
And there's another guy. That's another good contract because how we got away paying a guy like him what they're paying him, because anywhere else he probably would have got paid another $5 million a year.
Easily.
Easily.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting.
Steven Numersky checking in. Thanks for listening. I expected more out of Mozzie Smith in his career, but the right coach should be able to get him to be something more than a first and second down run stopper. As an Eagles fan, I'm not taking a chance on any more run stoppers or chances of developing them. Jordan Davis, that's our run stopper in that
He's
spot.
an athletic beast.
Someone else probably could do that, Steve.
What do you think about
But
Milton Williams?
I wouldn't even. We'll see. I mean, ain't that the guy that Howie got in the argument with the scout? I'm pretty sure that was the one he
that
picked.
was the Milton Williams pick.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I don't know who the other guy would have picked. See, like I'm still not in on the Howie drafts, and I don't want to go down that that road too far.
No.
They've been a lot better, but I need to see them be consistently better, and I need them. I need them to address cornerback. I need to see them draft. Now, on paper, it looks good, but we still got to see if Cam Jurgens can play.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see a lot of things here. The line, Nakobe Dean. Can Nakobe Dean play? Can Jordan Davis play?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? These are all question marks. Can Landon Dickerson play 7 plays without getting hurt, like he's Jason Peters and coming back in? Like, these are different things that are still question marks. So, like, we got it because now that we paid the quarterback, you can only build through the draft.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or you're the Packers.
And what we've always liked to do is build from the line, defense and offensive line out.
Right.
I'm not
Which I like that philosophy.
I like it too, but then the fans always, if we take a Skoronski or even a Jalen Carter at 10, which I don't know if he's going to be there anymore.
Nice article Joe did on EoP. Check it out, EoPsports.com about Jalen Carter falling.
Thank you.
But yeah, like,
I mean, if they take a Skoronski,
you better take Jalen Carter if he falls.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll fucking lose my.
And
I cursed my babe. I did happen. It happened.
Swear jar.
I thought me being nervous.
Yeah,
I thought me being nervous.
I'd be
the first one to drop the F-bomb. But also, what I liked about Jalen Carter is that the Georgia coaches had told, I think it was Sirianni, that Jordan Davis was the one kid that kept him in check, that kept him out of that, getting in trouble lifestyle, and kind of kept his eye on the ball. So
hopefully that with Fletcher Cox, because Jordan Davis, I mean, it's easy to be that guy at Georgia. Jordan Davis is still learning his own way.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Steve's saying here how he needs a Goddard level hit in both first and second rounds. Funny he says use Goddard. Like, do they look at the tight end position?
Darnell Washington, Georgia.
Yeah.
Because
he wasn't.
That's not
so Brock
about
Bowers was the main guy at Georgia, so he got, didn't have the light shined on him as much, but he's a freak, Darnell Washington. And Even the combine, I think he was doing crazy
He
stuff.
did.
But in the game, he would make plays. He has speed, size. And Howie likes those freaks. Like he always Tyree Jackson guy. He didn't really pan
Yeah.
out.
Well, I was
But he
gonna
always
say,
I've
like,
been waiting
Grant
for-
Calcutta,
Calcaterra.
if he
Stoll.
can, yeah.
So
So
do you feel comfortable riding with
No.
Goddard and those other guys
No,
as your
not right now.
2s and 3s?
we always love the double tight end, but like I don't think this is the draft to do it. Though.
Nah.
I mean, unless you're going to trade in and get more picks,
Okay.
or trade back from 10 and add more picks. What do we got? 5 picks, right? And 2 of them are 7. So we really have 3 picks.
I mean, I think it would be if we hit on 1 out of the 2 first rounders and the second rounder, I'd be happy.
Yes.
It'd be great if we.
I mean, if you hit
Yeah.
one star a year, like you could go 1 for 7. But if you hit a superstar,
Like a
then it's all right.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Well,
you do need those fill
It's
players.
back to
Yep.
where you were just saying, like, you're still not 100% sold on how he's drafting. And I don't think anybody should, because all he's done right was pick the guys that were obvious.
Mhm.
And that's what we said. Like I said, the whole time.
They took the Heisman Trophy.
But he's found guys like Garrett Blunt. He wasn't obvious. Going and
But they
find
didn't
Jay
draft him.
Ajayi for a
But they
4th
didn't
round
draft
pick.
him. They didn't draft. I'm talking about the draft.
Okay. Well, then that's what you're saying. But you're saying the player. You said all he did was pick. Or you're saying all he did was draft the
He
obvious guys.
drafted obvious players.
Yeah, but he traded up to get Devontae Smith. He
But
didn't
I'm just
sit
saying,
pat.
that's fine. But I'm saying, what he wanted, like you said, he wanted to get the Heisman winning wide receiver. He wanted to go get the most athletic monster known as Jordan Davis. He traded his first round pick that he had and picked up a tried and true wide receiver in AJ Brown. My thing is,
Which are all things we've
and my thing is,
would
I
love
think,
to
I
have
think
happen
of
the
hope-
whole career, or
Yeah.
the whole time we've watched the Eagles.
That's my
why
point.
didn't Joe Banner ever do that?
Yeah.
I'm hoping Howie has learned his lesson to stop trying to be the smartest man in the room. Bring in this guy from
Wherever.
even when they draft guys are sitting there going, do we have any video on this guy? You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
It's really simple.
Yeah.
Listen to the scouts.
Jalen Reagor, that draft, I'm like, yes. I said Jefferson, and then all of a sudden, Jalen Reagor from TCU. I'm like,
I think it was
Huh?
Peterson's pick.
I think so too.
Everything I've
Yeah.
read, I think Doug Peterson made the pick.
I heard
and
the same.
they gave it to Doug. And I think that's part of the reason
Doug left.
there was a disagreement because they're like, look, you're not making these calls anymore.
do you think they wanted to find like the next Tyreek Hill with Jalen Reagor? Like, what was that? That was
I will say I didn't watch TCU, but when they made the pick, there was a lot of talk about Justin Jefferson being just a slot guy. I wasn't a I didn't know if Justin Jefferson would. I certainly didn't think he was going to be this. I thought he would be a slot guy based if you read all that stuff. And then, he had Burrow, he had other receivers there with him. The guy before Jamar Chase. And there was another dude, T. Higgins. Was
T.
no,
He's
he's
Higgins was Clemson.
Clemson. Yeah. So T. Higgins is with Lamar on Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so like when they made the pick, I bought into it because he looked like a violent runner. It fit the offense. It felt like, so I can understand why the pick was made. It just was so bad because Justin Jefferson ends up being like a superstar.
Yeah. I mean, it's
You remember we were
Arguably the
mad
best
about
wide
not
receiver.
going up to get CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
That's what everyone was mad about.
Yep.
No one cared that it'd be about.
I mean,
Barely anyone cared about Justin Jefferson until Justin Jefferson became Justin Jefferson. Then all of a sudden it's like, I knew he was gonna.
well, no. I mean, listen, and it became almost criminal looking. And if you get in trouble in criminal
J
law,
Jaw, great point, Steve. J Jaw. That's a freaking miss.
yes, that's not even a miss. That was an
Stanford. I
blow
was
up in your
so mad.
face.
Got Notre Dame fans telling me, "Oh, he's good," because I guess they play Stanford every year. I'm
Oh,
like, "Shut up, he
That's
stinks."
what you get for listening to Notre Dame.
Slow
fans.
white guy. That get out of here.
oh, good. So neither of you guys are Notre Dame fans?
Yeah.
All right. Good.
I don't hate Notre Dame though. I actually kind of root for them. My friends that I want to see them do well for my friends that root for them.
Actually, I'm the opposite. But if you get hurt at work, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law, David R. Cherry is your man. You go to cherryinjurylaw.com or call David simply at 610-565-0300. The number again is 610-565-0300. And tell me EoP sent you.
So real quick, guys, I had a question. With these 2 first-round picks, say we don't trade them, we don't do anything. What positions do you guys want to see?
So if you're saying first round, Jalen Carter's available, Bijan Robinson's available, and
Position. Do position.
Oh, by
Yeah,
position.
By
all right.
position. 'Cause
I mean,
when we-
listen, in that 10, and again, it's the talent that's available. If you have if you have a Jalen Carter type talent or an Anderson or somebody in there that's going to be a day one contributor on the field,
plug them in.
Yeah, you have to go there with that defense. But if Carter's off, and I'm going to tell you right now, if Carter's off, I'm not on the Bijan train like everybody else is. I think Bijan is going to be a top tier special wide running back type guy. I don't know. Again, I don't know if this is the draft you do something like that. And I know Freddie has been very vocal about.
I mean, just look at all the running backs that were drafted 5 years ago in the first round. Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and now Dalvin Cook's about to get cut. Like it's just Dalvin Cook was the greatest thing, and Alvin Kamara stinks.
Yeah.
Not stinks. Is not the player he was. It's just I'm not gonna do it again. The facts are there. It happens. It just continues.
I've had people try to sell me like, well, what you're doing now is now that you've signed Jalen Hurts, you want to be able to have somebody who's going to hit the hole more than he has to, or you're going to have somebody who's going to be able to block for him, somebody who's going to be dynamic that will save the body of Jalen Hurts.
Sign Dalvin Cook once he gets cut.
That's I get,
and he's going. It's not going to be an expensive contract because no one's going to pay for a running back, and then you're going to have Dalvin Cook.
I'm a big
and all the ones that said we should have took Dalvin Cook. Now we're going to have Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I would go defensive line or offensive line. But
yes.
I mean, my listen. I'm part and partial to linemen.
Skoronski.
I like Skoronski. I think
Paris Johnson.
Yeah, I like Skoronski a little more because I think he could slide in at day one and be a great guard. You look at his athleticism, and we mainly do the zone blocking scheme, and we do a lot of
pulling guard,
the pin and pulls, and I just think from what I've seen on the highlight reel from Skoronski that the short arm thing, it might matter at a tackle, it might not, but for this year we could put him in a guard and he would I think he would destroy.
Well, what does that then mean for Cam Jurgens? Does he sit again behind Kelsey, or
I don't know,
or
because I'll be happy sitting again.
I think it's a big year to get his feet wet and see what we got in him. But I will say if they draft Skoronski, that's probably very telling. So what's going to happen? And who knows? They may trade someone to get a pick. I don't know, but
honestly, if their guy, if
Lane, we got to talk about Lane. Like you got to have his.
Well, that was kind of my thing in the beginning.
But he ain't
of the
retiring
season.
next year.
When we had that early draft conversation during the season, like what will you do? We give 2 draft picks. The first thing I said is you find the right tackle of the future, because Lane Johnson, you lose Lane Johnson, that line changes.
Oh yeah.
And we all know what the win-loss record looks like with versus without Lane. And I mean, I think Lane, you might have 2, maybe 3 good years left on him. And with all his injuries and all that stuff.
I think the word on Lane is
Paris Johnson.
He wants to retire sooner than later, Lane. But then it would be a Paris Johnson if you're going strictly for offensive tackle.
And then I like Cyrus O'Torrance at 30, possibly out of Florida. Only guy that even matched up to Jalen Carter.
And that's most likely where I would pick is the later pick.
I'm probably now I just talk myself in. I'm probably trading back on both.
Yeah.
I've said
depending on who's there.
I was literally about to say I would at least trade back on 10.
Unless Jalen Carter's there.
That's what I'm saying. If Jalen Carter's there and they're just the whole Bijan thing was smoke screen with the Eagles, if those 2 aren't on there or Anderson or some big blue chipper type guy, I say I'm not saying jump back from 10 to 20. But make 10 to 15, 10 to 12, somewhere in that range.
You could draft Nolan Smith, Miles Murphy.
And you could still,
there's edge rushers there. We need edge rushers.
I don't want an edge rusher. I mean, we got Sweat, we got Reddick, and we got B. Graham, who's older. If I want our first rounder to be able to jump in and play. Now, they were saying that Tampa Bay could possibly offer us, I think they're 18th. And I'm expecting them to be pretty bad, and they would give us their first next year. So if we drop down to it's either 18 or 19.
Yeah, but now you're just kicking a bucket down the line. I mean,
well, what would you think? We were talking tight end if we took Mayer from Notre Dame at 19.
I don't think it's that time. We just extended Goddard. It's not time to have.
So you wouldn't want to go to that 12 personnel?
Not with. I mean, if you I guess how many picks we're adding.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I would be intrigued. I put it that way. I'm not gonna. But I think we have holes to fill. I like there's these corners.
I don't know what our middle linebacker thing is going to be like right now. I don't know if Morrow's the guy.
Another thing.
Do you know? There's a guy out of Iowa who I absolutely, this Jack Campbell kid, he's like Tremaine Edmonds come again. He's 6'5". I mean, he's the prototypical Mike linebacker.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
He,
I mean, and I don't think they should draft linebackers in early. I really don't.
Maybe a 30.
They're like running backs to me.
Yeah.
The problem with the Eagles was it wasn't that it was so bad. Like, I agree with them not taking running backs in the first and second round. They were drafting safeties in the 7th round and trying to make them linebackers. That's a total different scenario. What Howie's doing now is great. I love how he took Dean because he fell, and I love how he's just signing the guys. Now he's missed on those too. He's the Redskins guy we signed that stunk. He ended up getting cut midway through. So on paper, and then we thought it was a good deal. But I want to draft. I don't want to say I want to draft edge. I'll take edge though, because you have to re-up that. Our rotations have to be ready to go.
And you can move older guys like BG in and let them play on the outside and more like a defensive tackle or
run like a NASCAR package where we could put if you notice our first game last year against Detroit, they were doing that a lot to us, putting 4 DNs out there on 3rd down, pinning their ears back and going because BG didn't look comfortable rushing from the stand-up position in the 3-4.
Could you kind of imagine Reddick far on the outside, BG lined up either on the tackle or the gap between the tackle and guard? B gap, C gap, like just attacking that, and then you have Reddick coming in, and so it's almost like it's almost like a double team, and you get Reddick with his type of engine just bashing his way through. It could be interesting, and it's a way you could extend older player like Brandon Graham.
And you prepare, we prepare for it. We don't just have the hole. Now it's like, we could fill that. Like another position at 10 that I would heavily entertain taking if the 3 guys are there, Porter, Witherspoon, or Gonzalez, is cornerback.
Yeah.
Slay ain't the same. Slay the second half of the year, and Slay's disgruntled now. Yeah. Like that contract, he ain't going to be here for that 4 years. No. And so put a guy, do what we do with Lito and Sheldon. Yeah. Put him behind. Let him learn, and then he'll be ready to rock. He's learning from 2 great vets.
Are you comfortable having somebody waiting especially on defense, in the wings when you have holes to fill now?
He's not. They're gonna play the slot. They're gonna get in the game. It's a nickel. It's a nickel dime league. You know what I mean?
You move Vontae back. Do you move Vontae Maddox back to safety if he's healthy?
That would work. Start transitioning him.
I mean, again,
he wasn't as good of a slot corner last year that I'm up to par that I'm used to seeing, but he was hurt a lot. He's playing hurt.
But you take a guy who is older and you can extend his career. I mean, when I say extend him, when you move him in, it's like moving a tackle who's a little aged and into a guard position because there's less moving, less stunting, and it's more just head on.
I just see him getting the top taken off him at safety.
Who?
If you move Maddox there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I like Brian Branch, is because he can come. He's basically CJ Gardner Johnson, just in a different coming out of Bama.
Right.
He can come down. He can play that nickel back. Also, I don't know how good Greedy Williams is going to do for us, but
he's probably depth.
But he could fill in for.
They signed him for a reason.
Yeah, he could fill. I mean, he was good in college. If he can somehow find that talent, because he did go to Cleveland, which is where good prospects go to die. So. He could step in maybe if Avante gets hurt again. So, I mean, I love Christian Gonzalez from Oregon, but I don't want to draft somebody at 10 that's going to sit. But like you said,
I just feel like you're just going to have you're set. Like I just feel like this is a big year to put that. Like, don't be idiots. Like we intend to be in the playoffs for the next 10 years, 5 at least.
5, definitely.
We're never going to be anywhere near number 10. Nowhere near. No one's going to get a trade where we're at 10. So, I feel like if a player of Gonzalez's caliber is there, you really have to entertain the idea, considering it's going to be a big hole in 2 years.
Yeah.
And who knows? Bradbury, I mean, he had a great year with us, but he wasn't that great on the Giants. And I loved him, and I thought his number 1 priority to sign him over Gardner Johnson and whatever was going on with Slay. I thought he was priority, but who knows what could happen.
Well,
I thought Slay was gone. I did not see them re-signing him.
But with the Giants,
he wasn't a free agent.
They
The
turned
the release thing popped up out of nowhere. No one thought
he
Slay
did.
was
It
getting
was
released.
Slay said him
his wife
yeah.
texted. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
they
like,
tweeted it out.
But the thing with Bradbury on the Giants was they tried to turn him into the man. He started following the number one receiver, and I don't think he's good at that. I think he's comfortable with another quality corner on the other side, as any corner would be.
Which
But,
I think that furthers. I mean,
that furthers your point about getting ready for the future. Yeah,
because I just feel if it's one of the top guys, mind you, like that's the thing. Like
there's three
like,
guys.
say there's a run on quarterbacks in the first, like people just start trading up.
I think
and
four
Richardson goes.
I think
and
four quarterbacks could be for the 10.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, Hooker is starting to make like waves.
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker from Tennessee to make him waves up the draft. Like imagine like Mahomes was a shocker when Andy traded up.
Yeah, it was
like a shocker. You don't know what's going to happen here. I mean, one team. Remember when the Eagles?
Mel Kiper trashed Mahomes too.
Remember Trubisky? The Bears moved up and take Trubisky.
Oh my God, Trubisky! They
Daniel Jones,
Blake Bortles.
Like you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. So like there could 5 quarterbacks to go in the top 10, and now all of a sudden we're picking between Carter, Porter, Witherspoon, and Gonzalez, and you're like, now I can trade back 4 slots, get one of them.
Yeah.
And still, like, there's so much cool stuff that could happen.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying at least you're going to have top 6 non-quarterback draft picks to choose from.
I really think Will Anderson will be the first non-quarterback to go.
Most likely.
But like you said, after that, I mean, it's amazing. Some of these quarterbacks you don't hear anything of during the season, the Blake Bortles types. And, I don't know how sold I am on Will Levis. I think he might be another Tim Couch.
Another name, though.
Out of Kentucky. Apparently, that's what Tampa Bay trade was about. They wanted to move up to our 10 spot to get maybe Levis, maybe Hendon Hooker from Tennessee.
Crazy.
But
who is Tampa Bay's quarterback right now?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, who was Brady's backup?
Maybe they'll bring Fitzgerald back again.
Oh God, he's gonna come out of the booth.
Yeah.
He's gonna stop doing Thursday Night Football. Listen, guys, when that draft, when the Eagles schedule, when the draft's over and the Eagles schedule drops, the first place I know we go to is PhillySportsTrips.com because then their schedule drops for all the away games. Right now, you can the draft is the next trip coming up. The London Leeds one sold out, so if you missed out, sorry guys. Keep checking Philly Sports Trips. Sometimes they open up more if there's enough need for it, but you could still head out to Denver. Watch a Union game or watch the Phillies take on the Rockies. And I'll have a whole new graphic soon because there's a whole summer lineup coming out and they're actually bringing Philly fans in from other countries during the Eagles season. So if you want to act like a pro, you want to travel like a pro, you go to PhillySportsTrips.com and tell Vince and the guys over there that EoP sent you.
They're the best.
They are the best.
I know we're going Phillies,
yes.
Right? Because we're way over time, but Baker Mayfield is your starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, that's good.
That's right. I forgot about
that. And just real quick before we move on to the Phillies, do you guys have any belief in the Devin White or the Buda Baker trades?
I don't believe.
If they don't have to pay them, yes.
Well, I think Devin wants a new contract. Buda, there's still 2 years left on his.
He's gonna get
13 and 14 million, I think. But,
well, 13 is what they might have gave CJ. So if he's going to keep his current contract, yes, there's fire to that.
I mean,
but if he thinks he's getting 19, 20 a year, coming here getting ripped up, I don't think.
If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if they extend his contract and shave off. Maybe not for him, but he might still make about the same, but it'll be more guaranteed, and like maybe his cap hit would only be.
Yeah,
this thing's contender too, is what he keeps saying.
Well, he says contender.
He's been all over us. I mean, he loves us.
He tweeted at
Syria. Was it Syria?
No, he tweeted at Jalen when he got signed. He said, "Congrats, you deserve it." But he was on some show and he was just gushing over Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So
and also people they always overlook Kevin Byard. How good of a safety Kevin Byard's a 2-time All-Pro, 1 first team, 1 second team All-Pro with the Titans, and they seem like they're just unloading guys. I mean, I know they re-signed Simmons, but other than that, So
Yeah,
I
maybe
mean,
he's an
maybe
opportunity.
Kevin Byard's an opportunity. So that's all I wanted
No,
to
that's
just get in there.
Good points.
You know,
So real quick, we're gonna jump into Phillies talk. So the Phillies did win the series. They split.
Whee!
Yeah, they split the doubleheader yesterday. Because how do you like one game you're putting in hits, and the other game's like your bats are like you don't even know how to swing a
It was a scheduled loss, guys. Like, come on.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I kind of feel like it was.
doubleheaders.
They didn't know a doubleheader was coming. Like,
Doubleheaders
they
are
weren't
tough.
prepared for
I mean,
that.
he like had no like
He used what we used 4 relievers in the first game. We had nothing, and I think a bright spot to take away from that game is Bailey Falter went 7,
Yeah.
gave
No.
up 3.
You
No, he
know what
went-
was
he didn't go
tough
full
with that
7, did
second
he?
game? I thought
Even if he went 6, it's something.
It-
that-
it-
Yeah, he
I
went
think he
6
definitely went
today.
full. Yeah.
Taijuan Walker went 7. He was the first
Okay.
Philly this year
to go
to go 7.
Okay.
Or 6 in the third.
It looked in that second game that like the wind was just knocking the ball down last night.
Yeah.
That second game, it was just
But you have
you're in Chicago.
there were 2 games, 3 games out of 5. From 500. You have a 4-game series against a 5-win Rockies team. The Phillies always tend to play the Rockies well at home.
No, he went 7.
Did he go
Did he?
7?
He went 7.
Okay, I thought he was.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm big on Bailey Falter.
3 hits given up, 3 earned runs,
And it
a
was just-
homer. Like, he's a 5. You got to remember this.
Yeah.
This is a 5 now. Like, that's good. Like, we'll take
that's why I
that
said
every time.
He only let up 2 hits. Unfortunately, one of them was a
It was
home
a home
run.
run. Yeah.
And which scored the 3, but that was it. Once that happened, he fixed himself. Like they're all having these blow up moments.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if it's Aaron Nola, even Wheeler. We saw him the other day, but he got out of it and was able to come back and pitch more. But they were able to get a little rest today that they need because they're going to come home for the 4-game series against the Rockies. And I don't want to look past the Rockies, but they really need to take at least 3 or 4, if not all 4, and kind of right the ship a little bit. And I think today was a good way of doing it. I don't know if you guys watched any of it,
But
but
if they do, they don't need to though.
your player of the game today was Trey Turner. I mean, he was one
First homer.
a triple
There you
shy
go.
of the cycle. Flashed a little leather as well with it. But Brandon Marsh quietly continues to become a better hitter. I think we
Yeah.
touched on that a little bit earlier.
Charlie Manuel, real quick. He said, I was like, do we trade? Who do we trade? Like the O'Hop or whatever, like a top
O'Hoppe.
catcher.
Oh, happy.
And Charlie Manuel came on the radio and was like, I see potential in this kid as a hitter. He's going to be a better hitter. And then at that point, I'm like, wow, Marsh might be a hitter. And now you're watching this. Charlie Manuel's a genius with hitting.
Oh,
And like he said that right after the trade that they could work on some things and it will be better. And look at Marsh. It's
I mean,
amazing.
if you think about it, if we were relying on all our big hitters, Harper being down, and then Reese getting hurt, Castellanos is doing better, much better, but
still no homers, though, right?
No, but
No.
look, the power's not there, but he's an RBI.
I don't
He's
care
a
if he
hit
never hits another
machine.
home
Yeah.
run. Don't ever, you can hit doubles all you want.
Yeah.
They're in the top 5 offensively in
Yeah.
every category except home runs and runs scored. But they're still middle of the pack runs scored. So like the runners in scoring position have been the issue.
Yeah.
It's
You-
getting better. We're
you
6
think the
games back
lineups-
now.
you think
We're
the
6 games back now.
Do you think the lineup is some of the
Braves
issue?
lost today. No, because they're getting hits. They're on the base pass. They're just not getting the timely hits, the clutch hits, as you said last
Mhm.
week.
Yeah.
Their runners are on. If we were getting blanked,
Then
then that's a problem. If we're getting 1 hit, 2 hit, like those dreadful teams, sometimes under Kapler and
Yeah.
and Girardi at times, it's not that. They're hitting the ball, and the lineup is just too good to not finally produce runs.
one thing I want to see this year, though, is I don't want to see Schwarber again, hit 212. I don't care if he hits 40. I'd rather him hit 30 home runs and hit 250, 260 with some more RBIs.
Oh, if he's not hitting 40+ home runs, he better be hitting closer to 300. Than
Well, I
250.
mean, he's like the king of the solo home run. It's
Yeah.
just, it's,
Well, also that's what happens when you put a guy,
He can't.
the
Here's the
top of the
thing:
order.
was brought to my attention. I got to give him credit in case he's listening. And the guy I work with, Don Blizzard, brought this to my attention today. Before he came here, he only went against righties, so he didn't have as many at bats. So like when you see these 250 averages from prior to here, it's because he didn't play against lefties. We're playing him every single day, and he cannot hit lefties at all. Hence, you're continuing to see this average.
yeah,
So to pay a guy that much money who can't hit lefties, it was
tough.
fun last year. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But like, do you start platooning? Do you start do you start not all the time, but like do you know what I mean? Do you a couple times say, hey, why don't you sit down? Let's get someone else in the lineup.
If
there.
everybody was healthy, meaning Bryce is there, Reese is in there, everybody else is in there, maybe you platoon. I don't even know.
Speaking of health, Ranger Suarez looking good, simulated game yesterday, I think it was, and then Bryce as well. Bryce is up to like 10 at bats.
And he's working on his sliding. Yeah. Because I don't know if we got a chance, because I think it happened after we talked about it, kind of came down, that Bryce is looking to play a little first base.
Love it.
Which is, if it works.
Remember not a team player.
Yeah.
Dude,
all about himself.
I love the way
selfish.
I love the way that kid plays the game with the fire in him.
I was like, I think I was a prisoner of the moment, but I'm still kind of there. Last year when he hit that home run, I was like borderline. He may be my favorite athlete in Philadelphia sports history, passing Dawkins. Because if they won that World Series, he would have gotten it done.
Oh yeah.
Which Dawk didn't love him, but he didn't get it done. And he didn't play well in a few of those
Tommy
big
John
games.
surgery, setting records in the postseason. You mean,
you know, I just love him, and he just loves it here. That's what makes it better. Like he's not like one of these guys that like you keep asking him questions, and you know they're like just trying to not talk about the fans. Like they're just like they don't want to say anything bad, but you know that they're like not all in. This dude is all in. He's always been all in. Like I love him.
Just watching him play out there,
Hustles.
Yeah, he's like a. Pete Rose was.
Yeah, I was gonna say Charlie Hustle.
Yeah, Charlie Hustle. You know, it's like
reading my mind.
You know, it's just, I mean, not that Pete Rose.
Same
dead,
wavelength.
Yeah, I can't wait for Bryce to get back.
Well, I mean, I think the whole organization, fan base, kind of can echo those sentiments there. But I mean, there's a big factor here that people have to look at. If Bryce can pull off playing first, and without re-injuring himself or ineffectively. Like I'm not saying. I mean, listen, we put up with Reese Hoskins' defense at first base. I think we can handle a few errors from Bryce Harper.
What if he doesn't have errors though?
Yeah, that's the thing is. But here's how I look at this: if you have him in the lineup now, you don't just have Bryce Harper back in your lineup. You can still keep your power hitters, because if you bring Bryce Harper back and he's just again in the DH role, somebody's gonna have to take a back seat or play more defense, like Kyle Schwarber being in the field or something. But if you can put him in on the field and still have the DH available, that's a double whammy.
Because you get another hitter, you know.
You're getting Bryce Harper's hitting capabilities back, and it's like the Sloman Shield when you don't have the actual security. Like it scares people away. Even though Bryce Harper's not 1,000%, having Bryce Harper, you have to pitch differently now.
Yeah.
The only thing I worry about with Bryce Harper coming back is that I think we all know he's not a proponent of the pitch timer. So I think it's going to take a little time for him. Yeah. I just think it's going to take a little time.
He'll be like 1 for. I swear, if he's like starts off 1 for 13, he starts playing that damn clock. I mean, it's so annoying. Yeah. I still love him, but like I'm so sick of that stuff.
I was going to ask you guys, how do you think the clock is working with the flow of the game?
Well, listen, I said and I guess I'll take my victory lap. I said the young guys are going to be the ones who you're going to see a lot of good young pitchers in the beginning of the season, because they already dealt with this. They've been doing this in the minor league, so they've seen what's happening. So it's the older guys, your Zach Wheelers, your Aaron Nolas. Those are the guys who are gonna struggle with it, because it's changed. And
Garrett Cole ain't having a problem.
Yeah, certain people aren't, but baseball players especially are creatures of habit. So that's why certain guys are going to
make a new freaking habit.
Yeah, well,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The game is amazing now. It's like it was in the 80s and 90s, because this isn't like they had to put a clock in because these guys want to take their damn time. Like go end it. Like it wasn't. That's not how baseball's played in Little League. You get the ball back, you throw it. Cliff Lee, perfect example. Like that's how you play the game. But now they have to all be quick workers.
And I wouldn't be surprised maybe next year they do some sort of compensation. Maybe they add 5 seconds to the pitch clock or something like that.
Yeah, they
which I wouldn't care about that. 5 seconds is whatever. But my point is, I wouldn't be surprised at sometime next year they add a few seconds to the no more than 5 probably.
Little tweak, but you have to go all in this way to shock them to be like, all right,
This is
and
the
then
new
they're great.
reality.
Then they're grateful for what they have.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, make them know this is a new reality because they can't, in the big Sunday night baseball.
I watch Sunday night baseball now. I watch, and they moved it up to
I
7.
didn't used to because it was 4.5 hours, especially the
Yeah.
Boston, New York games, which I love.
Oh
now
yeah,
I can watch it, and you're invested.
Yeah,
now you're fully invested. You can watch these games. It's amazing. Like I was watching Dodgers Mets last night on TBS.
Yeah.
Costas, who shouted out in the middle of it. I only caught the end of it. We started talking about Pats and Geno's. We talking about Philly cheesesteaks. I tweeted about it. I didn't catch how they got to that, but somehow Mets fans must have loved talking Philly on that national TV. But I never did that anymore. I used to do that as a kid. Now I can again.
Yeah,
it's great.
I used to be the same way, and then it just got to be 4.5 hours. I'm like,
I wasted my life.
Yeah, I got shows to watch on HBO. Yeah. Game of Thrones is on.
Yeah, and again, and not just the fact is that you have a Phillies game almost every night, if not 6 out of the 7 nights a week, and to give up 3.5 hours. I mean, think about if you sat there and watched all baseball. Like think about a person who's been covering baseball for years. So your job is you're down there an hour early and you leave about an hour.
Salisbury's probably thinking about coming back. He's like, you know what? I'm going to be out of there.
But but think about it. We've covered games. You've been down there. You get down there an hour early, and you probably leave about an hour after the game's over. 3.5, 4 hour game. You're down there 6 hours now. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And no, I mean, as a fan, I love the damn pitch clock. Move this thing right along. And like you said, they'll get used to it. They'll get over it. If they won't, they'll get out. Like that's how I look at it. Like it's
move on.
It's not going to weed out.
You made your money then. I guess you're getting a new league now.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I like the pitch clock. But back to the current Phillies, it was. I mean, Stott he broke Puddinghead Jones's record.
Puddinghead,
which is funny because I laugh at it because that was what my dad would call us when we were little kids.
Nah,
Puddinghead.
Really?
Puddinghead Jones.
After that guy?
No shit.
So my dad doesn't watch sports. My dad it skipped him. My grandfathers, my uncles, my dad, no, just not a sports guy. I texted him. I said, "Hey, Dad, your favorite Philly?" Just joking around. Puddinghead Jones. He just got his record broken by Bryson Stott. And he texts back, "Who's Puddinghead Jones?" I'm like, "You've only been calling us that like when we were little kids." Like, Charles, my kid's Puddinghead Jones. I'm like, you don't even know where it came from. I was like, but my grandfather was a gigantic Phillies fan, so he must have heard
it to him
and just kind of like stuck with him.
No, your grandpa said it to him as a kid all the time, so then he just naturally
heard the name Puddinghead Jones a few times. I mean, they had some crazy names.
Yeah, Dizzy Dean. And
the guy was Pie. They had to go Pie.
When they said Puddinghead, I was like, oh my god! I text my buddies, I'm like, Puddinghead? Question mark.
Yeah, like.
Oh well, that's funny though.
But yeah, that's.
I mean, look at Bryson's coming out of the gate great.
I mean, and that was what I was saying earlier. If it wasn't for things like guys like him, Bohm, Marsh,
the entire offense, Al.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like
I keep saying this. Like this is like I said. Like it's not one guy. They're all hitting. We're choking.
Oh, and it sounds from reports I was hearing that they're not going to have to send Sosa to the injured list, the IL.
Yeah.
So that's good news.
You said Sosa, which made me move to the other side of the ball. Soto suddenly looks like the guy we signed.
Well, let's talk about the whole bullpen. I mean,
and Alvarado.
Well, Alvarado's the only one who's been consistent this whole year long. I mean, he's at 1.08 ERA. Like that's what he has right now. But I always feared that they were always going to go to him so much and burn him out halfway through the year. But I mean, Kimbrel, he did well the last couple of days. Like you said, Gregory Soto, he's been like
Dominguez got his head on straight. You hear what Tomper had to say to him?
What?
He said his confidence was messed up, and he had to pull him aside and be like, "Yo, dude, do you realize you were the key to one of the main keys in our bullpen to our World Series run? Like, you are a World Series type pitcher. Like, get your confidence back." And then he pitched.
You
he
can
pitched
tell,
well.
like
maybe that worked. Like, yo, dude, like you're not.
I felt like somebody was in his body throwing pitches who never threw a ball before. Like he looked like but like his again, just it's this. Creatures of habit, but it all took a little psychological talk with but he was gassed. I mean, gassing people. Like it was scary, some of the stuff he was throwing. And it was it had movement, but it was so slight, like you couldn't really see it on the TV. But when like they were showing like the different angles of when he was throwing his pitches, the guys were just like they were just closing their eyes and hoping
Just
for the
waving the
best.
bat.
Just
Yep.
hoping for the best. I watched the whole. I remember they used to do the science of sports, and they would explain that a 95 or 96 mile per hour fastball or more, from the time it leaves the pitcher's hand to the plate, it disappears. Like from the naked eye, it cannot read it. So that's like where timing and all that comes in. So imagine having that with those little movements in there, just like it is a pure guess at that point.
I always
Wow.
used to look at Randy Johnson being like, remember, what was he 6'10"? Like by
Yeah,
the time
he
he
was a big boy.
strided and let like
Big
Kruk in the All-Star game, just
Well, I remember. I think
and
Kruk
Larry
was
Walker too.
I think
Yeah.
Kruk was just talking about that. He's like
Was
his stride, because they had a guy on the mound that was like 6'8" or 6'9", and he's like, I was like, reminds me of Randy Johnson. He goes, he would stride so much his foot would hit the home plate. Like I think that's how long his stride was. And they were showing the comparison to I think it was Bailey Falter or something, because he's a tall
yeah,
dude
because
too.
he's a long shot.
And they were showing like his footprint compared to the other guy, and like their strides are so long. I'm like, how do you recover from that? Like I'd be doing a split every time, like just trying to stride like that. But yeah, I mean, we're hoping the Phillies are going to right the ship, or the ship's starting to get right now.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, I'm not worried about
8-11,
it.
6 games back.
April-
Bats are just I said it too many times, but go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off, Joe.
Oh no, I just I mean, like it's what, April 19th. So
6 games out.
yeah,
8-11.
I mean,
I think they can go 2-2
mean,
this
that's the other
next
thing
4 games too.
They're not too far off where they were at the end of April last year. The only thing that's
Wow.
different is the Mets aren't up. Only
Yeah.
lost a game or two at this point. You know what I mean?
And Braves are 14-5. But
Yeah. But I mean, I think the Mets.
Pirates are fucking 12-7.
I
There's
think
2.
there's
There's my
two.
second one.
I think the Mets by this time last year they said were like they only lost 1 or 2 games. So yeah, well, you get your victory
Well,
lap back.
look at
Take
the
it back.
Rays, man.
Joe don't even know what I'm saying. I cursed. I said the F bomb.
I heard you with the Pirates. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh,
That's what I meant second time.
oh, yeah. But what are the Rays now? They have 1 loss
They have at least 1. I don't know if they
because they started out, I
Let's
think,
take it.
14
14-0.
3
Yeah.
losses.
they're up to 3 now.
16-3.
That's why I kept saying to people. Everybody's like, "Oh, the Rays." I'm like, "Listen, you can go undefeated in April."
Yeah.
How many years with Kapler did we
Yeah.
go like 10, 11 games at
Call
above
me at the
500
end
and
of
then just
July, and
tank?
we'll talk where you're
and
at
then
then. The Rays will be a blip on the radar come
The Rays are
August.
probably thinking, what do we have to do to get out of this shit? Basically, it's like what were those old outdoor?
Oh no, man! The Rays always every few years become because they draft well, they have good
Yeah.
scouting department. They do all come out and they'll make the play.
Come
Well,
on,
and they
break
were good. They were in the World Series
Yeah,
3 years ago, right?
Break them off with a new
Yeah.
stadium. They play in the worst
I was
stadium
there.
I've ever seen.
I was in that parking
Tropicana.
lot. hanging-
Tropicana. Well, I don't know if it was still called that.
I don't know. It might not
It
be.
Yeah,
I
is.
don't
I
know.
remember.
It says
Is
it on the sign in Tampa.
What a
It says
shit.
Tropicana. Oh, it's laid out very weird.
It's apparently in a bad area too.
Yeah.
Like crime
I was
wise.
about to say, like, it's reminiscent of like going to Camden for like a concert. Like you could just walk in the back of an alley, like, oh, crack pipe. Hold on, let me go
Except
do it,
down
right?
there, the guys have gators and meth.
Yeah.
It's like,
They just have more meth and more gator.
yeah.
But guys, just to let you know, it's coming up. We've talked about it before on the show. We'll be covering it. Pennsylvania, the Golden Gloves 100th anniversary boxing tournament will be held this year, the first time in Pennsylvania in 100 years, and it's actually in Delco for all you Delconians out there.
I'd love to do
The
that.
Golden Gloves, check it out.
My grandfather was a pro fighter, so
Okay. Well, they Must Fight Boxing Gym in Delco in Upper Darby is hosting this. Dan Malarkey, he is the guy who put this together, got the bid in. It will be at Harris Casino in Chester, for those who aren't familiar with it. But it's a few nights. You can get tickets online. EoP will be down there having some guys cover it.
cool.
It's going to be really cool. I've been having chances to meet up with Dan and talk to him about all the great stuff.
You never,
Some boxing legends
I
will
was
be
gonna-
in town.
and you never know who you're going to see that might be a legend in the
Yeah.
in the future.
These are hungry guys who are just trying to win a trophy.
yeah,
man.
man.
It's all. They don't win a $50,000
No.
prize or $100,000 prize.
No.
Golden Gloves has been around for 100
Yeah.
years, and
I can't believe
yeah.
you just said 100-year.
And it's the first time in those years it's going to be held in Pennsylvania.
Man, a fighting city like ours.
You would have thought,
Yeah.
Philadelphia, it would be easy, but it's actually not even in the city limits of Philly. It's in
Upper
Delco.
Darby.
It's in Delco.
19082, baby.
Well, it's held at Harris, so but
But
the guys that must fight, Dan and them are the ones that are hosting it.
Got you.
So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. So if you're, I mean, you're like, oh, I'm not really into like boxing. It's cool because you got a bunch of guys going out there and put their bodies on the line and just fight just to say they did it.
And I'm sure it's still 3 rounds, Golden Gloves.
Yeah, I believe that a lot of that stayed the same. But yeah, we'll be down there. We're going to hopefully get some interviews with some famous boxing legends so we can throw up on EoP here. And probably sitting ringside for a little bit there. So
that's
it's going to be a good time. So yeah, I'll have more information for it, but I think it's PAGoldenGloves.com if you want to get your tickets or check out all the information. And they will be streaming it live.
Cool.
And I think we'll be picking up part of the live stream for it too. At least sharing it on our social media.
Yeah, we should do a celebrity boxing match. You versus Joey Sheeran.
Yeah,
I'm funny.
We both get winded getting in the ring. We'd be like just leaning on each other. You'll hear snoring.
Clinch
Joe, I'll just fall and take a nap. You can just we'll call it even.
EoP divided.
It's amazing how
owner versus owner.
How that used to be. The heavyweight title used to be up there with. I mean, you were the most famous guy in the world in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then it was like now everything's UFC. But I still pay attention to the sweet science of boxing. Big fan.
All right, guys, remember, this is brought to you by Sherry'sTickets.com. Check them out. Use that promo code EOP10 to save 10% off, as well as Cherry Injury Law. Call David R. Cherry for your workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, and criminal law needs. David R. Cherry's the man, 610-565-0300 or cherryinjurylaw.com. And remember, I told you, Wiffle Ball Madness is back at Dolan's. That's right, May 13th, 1 to 8. Charlie Manuel's in the house. So is Mickey Morandini and Tank himself, Hollis Thomas, with PSG Genius, right? Philly Sports Guy will be in the house as well. And from what I understand, there might even be some more names coming up, but we haven't announced them yet. Check them out at Dolan's Bar, or you can go to Dolan's Bar now and talk to PJ and get yourself situated and ready for that awesome event. 24 East Sellers down in Ridley Park, or go to dolansbar.com. And don't forget, phillysportstrips.com. Travel like a pro. Go on there. There's so many. If you want to just do, you're like, I don't know if that'll fit my budget. There's great baseball trips just on the buses. That's cheaper than going down to the stadium yourself. It is amazing. Or you can go out to Eagles play Dallas. You can head to Dallas. You can head to whoever the away games will be. They will have them. They have plenty of Phillies. There's a Chicago trip coming up, a West Coast trip for the Phillies. They'll have one for that too. Pittsburgh. That's always a big one they do every year. I might be out for part of that as well. So go to phillysportstrips.com. Tell them EOP sent you. Other than that, I'm Big Al.
Dude, I might do Pittsburgh too. It's $599, July 28th through the 31st. I think I'm in for Pittsburgh.
I heard PNC's a nice stadium.
It is a nice. I've been there a few times. Funny thing is, I'll tell you a quick story. So I used to go out to the Phillies Pirates. I had friends that lived out there. My other friend just moved out there, but I had friends that lived there. And when was
two games included, Saturday and Sunday?
Mm-hmm. What's the airline, Southwest. When they were new, Southwest used to do little jumper flights. They didn't do too much across country. You could fly for $50 one way to Pittsburgh. It literally is a 35 to 45 minute. You literally get in the air. All right, we've hit 40,000 feet. Take your seatbelt off. About a minute or two later, all right, put your seatbelt back on. We're landing. Like it was like a triangle. You just went up and you came back down. So I would get to Pittsburgh in 45 minutes.
That's awesome.
Just pack a duffel bag and put it overhead. That was it. And we would go watch Phillies and Pirates games and stay for the weekend because you could stay in Pittsburgh.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but now flights like that aren't anymore. But I'll be doing a lot more traveling, covering the game, because if you ever have to check it out, Avila Airlines, they fly out of Wilmington now. They only fly out certain days, like Tuesdays and Thursdays or something. But you can get a trip to Florida. You can get to Tampa and Florida back for $150. Like you can't beat that.
Nice.
So like you want to take some spring training games in. Staying in Clearwater and the games are not that bad. Yeah. Go on a Tuesday, come home on a Thursday, or stay a week, whatever it is you want to do.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'll be doing a lot more traveling this year, covering the games for EOP. Write it off on my taxes. But again, I'm Big Al.
I'm Freddie Burns.
And for my first time, I'm Joey Melito.
And we out.
There's one thing I want you to do for me.